You see that? These little red clouds. And that is the full moon today. You get to see a picture of the full moon. And that's me. With my happy face. In front of the camera. Telling you about embodied language. Yeah. Telling you about what you keep missing out on every day. And yeah, then you end up being angry. Even when you reach the top, you're still angry. Yeah, I mean, let's just face it. Oh, here, that's beautiful, isn't it? What a nice picture, eh? Yeah. Nice red sky, nice red clouds. But yeah, even when you reach the top, yeah, like Joe Biden, you go out with an angry speech. Oh my gosh, is this guy miserable or what? But yeah, you don't seem to see the difference, and that's why that's why you fall for all this acted speech, yeah. And the difference between acted speech and real speech, yeah, the difference between embodied language and disembodied language, or, I should say it the other way around, because I mentioned acted speech first, but, I want you to pay attention. And so I mix it up. It doesn't matter. I can even make a mistake, and then you should say, hey, he mentioned it wrong. Oh, he said something he probably meant the other way. Okay, well then I guess I made a mistake. Pay attention. Pay attention for once in your life that there is a difference between genuine human interaction, which isn't scripted, which isn't predetermined, which doesn't happen from the basement. No, it happens from a guy sitting on his bicycle talking with himself in the early morning. And a beautiful, clear early morning after a full moon's night. Yes. And so don't make it seem as if I'm not talking intellectual enough, or as if it isn't meaningful enough, or as if it isn't relevant enough. You're always wanting something which isn't like this. You're always wanting something which isn't authentic. You're always wanting something which doesn't allow for a person who speaks to be alive, to be him or herself, to be sincere, to be honest. And yeah, what you continue, oh, thank you. What you consider to be honesty, that is not honesty. Yeah, that's just the party line. The party line isn't your honesty. It has nothing to do with who you are personally, with you, who you are, where you are in your life. So, can we talk about that? Can we still talk about who we are as individuals? Excuse me, you can only do that if you have the language that goes with that. And you don't seem to have that language. You only have disembodied language, which makes you, again and again, fall in line with the same old, predictable, boring, unintelligent, problematic. What is it? Pretension. It is pretension. And oh yeah, this is the issue of today, and I will speak about it more because I've written about it last night. It is, of course, an issue of responsibility, right? Let's just call it what it is. You are irresponsible, and that's why you have disembodied language. Yeah, only a person who listens to himself, like me, do you see me, do you hear me, I am here. I'm listening to myself. I am responsible. But anyone who doesn't listen to himself cannot be responsible, can only pretend to be responsible. And that's exactly what you do. You only pretend. You only brag. You only whip up a shitstorm about nothing. And you make it seem as if you're very important, as if you've got great things to say. But you don't say anything. You are just empty. You are just stupid. You just promise something and you hope that people will become your follower, and that's all it is. You want to have power, obviously, and or anyone like me who has embodied language. Why would anyone who has embodied language, I want you to wonder about that, because you don't meet a person like me. You can only see me on a video because we never talk. You never talk with me to actually hear this directly, person to person. So you can only hear this when I talk with myself. Yeah? But I want you to wonder. What is it like to just talk? To just be yourself. You can do it. Of course you can. You haven't, but of course you can. The question is, are you? Are you ever going to do it? Are you ever going to stop yourself from doing what you've done so that you can do this? That's the issue. Are you ever going to stop yourself from being irresponsible? And are you ever going to grow up and become responsible? I mean, why would anyone who is responsible, why would anyone who is capable of having embodied language, why would anyone want to have followers or want to have power? Yeah, because those who are into that, they're always struggling to get power, struggling to maintain power, struggling with other people who are, wanting their power, to put them down, proving that you are better than them, always proving to other people that you are supposedly so worthy of their vote, I don't give a shit of your vote. I know who I am. And I don't care if you vote for me or not. I don't have a party to belong to. I don't have a group behavior that I'm inviting you to. I invite you to embodied language, which is an invitation into becoming an individual, a responsible individual. And which is also, a very clear description of your unacceptable immaturity, your unacceptable lack of responsibility, and your unacceptable blaming everybody for stuff which you yourself do not want to be responsible for. So you're endlessly busy with other people, but you're never busy with yourself. You cannot be, because you do not listen to yourself. And once you listen to yourself, you are done with your power games. You're done with your manipulations. You can fool the whole world, and to some extent you can fool yourself, but you know very well that you cannot fool yourself. If you fool yourself, you are going to experience the consequences of your own lies. And that is really what your trouble is. You can scream all you want, you can blame all you want, you can, be infuriated, because, you're so infuriated, right? You're so righteous, you're so moral, oh my gosh. We should all praise you for being such an upstanding person. But you're full of shit, because you're you're basically saying, I'm having disembodied language and I'm proud of it. Well, how's that working for you? How's that working for you personally when you talk with yourself? When you're done with your stupid speech, yeah? When you're done with your scripted, predetermined behavior, and when you actually do begin to do what I talk about and begin to listen to yourself and begin to say like, what is going on with me? Why am I so upset? Why am I so frustrated? Why am I so dissatisfied? Why am I so conflicted? I am not conflicted. You are. I am not negative. You are. Yeah. And everyone with disembodied language is negative. Everyone with embodied language is positive. But who are these people who are so positive? I don't hear. Yeah, I know one or two people who have some embodied language, and I really appreciate them. And but then again, are you having embodied language by yourself? Okay, is that embodied language? Wait a second. No, the rubber hits the road in your conversation with others. And you can, of course, keep demanding to have your way because, you have certain needs, you have certain requirements. No. As long as you have requirements, you are not having embodied language. Period. Embodied language isn't based on anyone's requirements. Yeah? And I, as the person, I am the person who knows this. I am the person who, I don't say that I have written the book on embodied language because I haven't written a book and there's not going to be ever a book. Yeah, I am the person who discovered for himself when I was in my early 20s, I discovered that I could speak with myself and listen to myself. And I am that person, yes. And I have been talking with myself for the last 45 years and I have been I've been able to continue, let me put it that way, because it is really not that I'm just continuing with my embodied language. No, I have been able and become better and better at continuing my embodied language. Yeah? So, for me to say that there are requirements for embodied language, is something different than what you say that there are requirements for your so-called embodied language. Yeah? And that's something that you probably don't want to hear. But look, I know the difference between disembodied language and embodied language. So what that means is that I know what it takes to have embodied language, to stop disembodied language. And to have embodied language, one has to stop one's disembodied language. And I just know from my own experience how tricky it is to actually really stop our own disembodied language. Yeah? And it is very easy to pretend that you have stopped your disembodied language and that you go on with embodied language. But all you are actually doing is you're just going on with some sort of a kumbaya type of deal, some sort of a hippie stuff where you just pretend to be all love and peace. But no. You're not having embodied language because you haven't dealt with your shit. You haven't dealt with the negativity of your disembodied language. You haven't put disembodied language in its place. You haven't understood what it is. You haven't fully acknowledged how irresponsible you have always been whenever you claimed that you must have your way. You must have your needs fulfilled. You must have whatever it is that you supposedly need. No, you can't do that if you want to have embodied language. And if that condition that you put on it, yeah, if that condition is, so to speak, for you, the reason that, unless I can be like this, or unless the situation is like this, or unless other people treat me like this, as long as you keep saying that, you are not having embodied language. And yet, here I am telling you all of this. How can I tell you this? Because I know this. Yeah? So, don't tell me that I'm not giving you what you want, because I am not giving you what you want. I never give anyone what they want. And yes, my conditioning history is very similar to anyone else's conditioning history, in that in disembodied language, someone is higher and someone is lower, and someone presumably feels better than the other, and the other feels inferior to the other, and there's all these complications that has to do with superiority and inferiority. In embodied language, there is no such thing. So, and how can that be? Well, it can only be that way because I am alone with myself in my embodied language. I can finally be me by being alone with myself. If I wouldn't be alone with myself, I couldn't be myself. So this is another issue about responsibility that people just don't want to wake up to. They believe that being themselves has to do with other people accepting them, or, I don't know, talking to them in a certain way, or behaving in a way that makes them feel good. Absolutely not. That is totally irresponsible to view being yourself that way. That is oppressive. That's tyrannical. I am not in any way expecting anyone to be the way I want you to be. And yeah, I've had my conditioning history with this issue, of course, where, of course, I wanted everyone to have embodied language, but that is a past station. That is something I no longer adhere to. I don't care if you have embodied language or not. I simply like to say this. And I am myself by saying this. I am happy to say this. I am responsible by saying this because it is my truth. Yeah? And this is not anything rehearsed. This is not anything, yeah? These clouds in the sky, they will never be the same. And in the same way, what I'm saying will actually never be the same. Even though, yeah, there are still clouds in the sky, but they're different clouds. They're different shapes. They're different colors. There's a different day. And I see and hear different things with my embodied language every time. So here I am again. Yeah, I'll let you look at the other side. You see the moon is behind the clouds there a little bit. You see that? It is still here. Let me just stop a little while. I just want to walk for a few moments. The moon is behind the clouds and it's so beautiful to see how that is. And it's still early, the sun hasn't come up yet, but it's almost coming over the hills there. And the moon is there behind the clouds that are slowly drifting away. What a great picture, huh? Do you see it? I hope you do. Yeah. Yeah, I meant to do that a while ago, but I kind of forgot about it. I wanted to make some recording again while walking instead of riding my bicycle. It's a little calmer. Here, look at that moon. Isn't that great? Yeah. We look at the same moon no matter where we are in the world. And so, no matter where you are in the world, you hear the same person. Whether you look at the moon or whether you look at me, you're seeing me. And if you stop with your stupid beliefs, your beliefs that you have because of your disembodied language, I don't have any beliefs. That's why I can be happy. And that's why I don't care whether you join me or not. And of course, I do care. You know, I'm happy when you join me. Don't get me wrong. Oh, look at that. Now the moon is all clear. You see? Yeah, that's how I like it. Yeah. And these preferences, yeah, those are my requirements. I want the whole thing. And to me, yeah, I don't go for half work, you know. I don't go for I don't go for half empty or half full, you know. Forget about that. So, now, I've said what I've said what I wanted to say today, I guess. I'm just waiting for the sun to come over the hills, and then we'll call it a day with this recording. Make not a long recording, okay? I won't bother you with a long recording. That's funny. I remember long time ago, that was before I wrote all kind of poems. Yeah, I went through a phase in my life when I wrote many poems, and I still remember all these poems, but I don't want to say them anymore. I've decided that I want to stop saying these poems. But I still remember at one time I went to some event, and at that event I was already, at that moment I was already kind of tired of my own poetry. Hi there. At that event I decided, no, I don't want to do the poetry, I just want to spontaneously speak. And I remember I spontaneously spoke, and the people just really didn't like it, but I liked it myself. And it was so hilarious because I was able to sort of still enjoy myself while everybody was rejecting me. And that was a real breakthrough, that I was able to like myself in spite of all these people who would just say woo, and I said, no, you just gotta listen to this. You gotta hear what this is. It is really good, but you just don't get it because you're not open to me. But of course, I left that place and I never went back there again. There it is. It's coming. I'm reminded, I was a long time ago, I was also involved with Rajneesh, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and later he was called Osho. And then we sang a song which goes like, sunrise over the mountain, spreading your light, spreading your light across the land. Sunrise, another new morning, we celebrate, we are the new man. Yeah, yeah. I guess it is true in some sense that I am the new man. And I never got with Osho or with all the sannyasins, all the followers of Osho, and I was one of them. I never got any traction about my discovery, which was also incredibly frustrating to me. Nobody wanted to have embodied language with me. Isn't that something? They all want to sit on their ass and meditate and do all this screaming and all this dancing and all this stuff. But they don't want to have a conversation in which they are actually conscious and of themselves. And but I did. And I said, no, we gotta talk about this so-called thing called meditation. I don't care for meditation. I don't give a shit about meditation. Go to hell with your meditation. Why do people even care about meditation? It's because they don't have embodied language. That's why. And even someone like Osho, he talked about the mind, that you have to go beyond your mind. I don't even understand how a man like that can still talk like that, because of course he's dead now many years. But let's just face it, it needs to be said, and I'm saying it loud and clear. Osho speaks about the mind, human thought, inner dialogue or whatever, conversation with yourself, covertly, you have an inner life. You got to go deep within. There is no language inside of us. Okay, I've said it again. Yeah, there is no language inside of us. There never was any language inside of us. There is no mind, okay? So stop talking about the mind already. There never was a mind. The mind is just a made-up construct due to the way in which we talk. Why didn't Osho speak about that? Yeah, he couldn't. Yeah, he could have wonderful lectures and everybody was at his feet and he could create a whole commune and everything that, but he wasn't speaking about embodied language. I've listened to many lectures, but I never heard him talk about it. No. And so, yeah, okay, well, that's that. And I've discovered this. So, where does that put me compared to Osho? Well, all you sannyasins, you can all just go to hell with your admiration for Osho. I don't need your admiration. Go admire Osho then. But you still don't have embodied language. Yeah, I was frustrated about that, for sure. But I'm no longer frustrated about it. I feel victorious that I'm just walking here, talking with you about my language enlightenment. And I don't even care whether you call it language enlightenment or not. I'm just being myself with my language. That's what this is. And you cannot be yourself with your stupid disembodied language, because you don't listen to yourself. And you refuse to pay attention to the importance that has for your life. If you do not talk with yourself in such a way that you hear yourself, now your language is not working for you. And then you start fantasizing about a mind. Then you start fantasizing about all kinds of nonsense. Then you fantasize about as if there's words inside of you, sentences inside of you. No, that never existed. But yeah, you believe it, and then you have to get rid of it. It's just so stupid. That's called gaslighting. Yeah. I mean, isn't that a clear example of gaslighting? My goodness. Couldn't get any worse. Yeah. Good morning. No, I am not part of that, I don't know, storytelling that Osho did. Yeah. Endless stories. No stories with me. I'm just telling you what I come up with at this moment. And yeah, there's no stories. And if you call this a story, then you do not get it. Yeah, that everybody has their own story. Forget about it. I don't have my own story. Stories are monologues. And most of Osho's lectures were just monologues. Just like Krishnamurti's lectures were just monologues. Yeah? Right. And yeah, you can admire them, you can sit them, and you can enjoy the peacefulness and all that kind of stuff. You can even have your own monologues like that and enjoy your own monologues and say like, oh gosh, I'm having embodied language. No, you're not. You've just manipulated situations in such a way as if it is all just wonderful and now all the blessings are falling from the sky. But you have not acquired, you have not understood, you have not differentiated the difference between disembodied language and embodied language. Krishnamurti didn't know about that either. Yeah, and neither did any of these so-called gurus, yeah, that we know about or that people talk about. No. And the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, forget about that guy. I mean, what does he know about embodied language with his phony smile and kissing that boy? That was sick, that the Dalai Lama kissed that boy on the mouth. Ugh, what a freaking pedophile. Yeah, just like in the Catholic Church, all these perverts, all these people that cannot deal with their sexuality, that is what it is about. Yeah, Freud had something good to say about that. Yeah, still stands. People are totally fucked up about their sexuality. That's what actually, of course, also is at all this gender ideology. You know, it's a total confusion about human sexuality. But okay, we're not supposed to talk about that because this is discriminating. Well, it's not. It's just madness. Hi. But we can only talk about that madness if we're sane. And if we pretend to be sane, then we just add more madness to the madness. And that's what we're doing. When we talk about disembodied language with more disembodied language, it just keeps getting worse. So, all right, I said I was going to keep it short. I'm again elaborating into nothing. But that's exactly what embodied language does. It makes your words disappear, and then you're suddenly really here. Look at that, how beautiful. I don't have any words inside of me. I don't have a mind. Oh, just one last thing. I was reminded of something that that I've experienced 100 million times, but I could never really pinpoint it precisely as I was experiencing it. But recently I said it to myself and I said, yeah, that's how that is. You know, whenever a person does do the experiment, so to speak, and when somebody says, "Okay, Maximus, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to just speak with myself and listen to myself, and I'm going to see what that does. I'm going to try to hear what I would say to myself if I listen to myself." Okay. Now, all right, yeah, of course. If you really do it, and you realize like, oh wow, now I am listening to myself. That is wonderful. It is wonderful. It is wonderful to listen to yourself and to speak with yourself. And especially, it is wonderful because before you were not doing that. And you notice the big difference between now that you're doing that, yeah, because you're doing that experiment, and you notice the difference between when you're not doing that, when you kind of regress again into your old habit, which of course is going to happen because your conditioning is not just all of a sudden going to go away. But even though that happens, you can catch yourself again and bring yourself back again into listening to yourself and speaking with yourself, and you say, wow, this is really something. Okay. Now you've had some embodied language, okay? Just let's just assume that happened. And that is going to happen. I predict that this is what is going to happen. So it is a prediction that is going to be, everyone who does this is going to be able to verify what I'm saying. Now, let's say you have 10 times try to talk with yourself. Let's say you have done it 100 times. Wow, now you start to get the hang of it. You're really enjoying talking with yourself. You suddenly feel like, wow, I'm relaxing. I like my sound. I like what I say. I say new things. I say things that are important to me. I experience the positive outcomes of my embodied language. Wow, that's really great. Well, you cannot help but feel you cannot help but feel that you want to have this with others too, you know. Why shouldn't you? You can have it with yourself. Of course you can talk like this with others. Yeah? Now what happens? You're trying to have embodied language with others. This is not working. It is just not working. Other people are not interested. They don't want to listen to themselves. They are not listening to themselves. And you explaining it to them doesn't work either. It's a total mess. It's frustrating. There's just no end to it. You try again and again it's frustrating. You go back again to yourself. You say, oh my God, I wanted them to listen to me. But I wasn't listening to myself. I got into conflict with them and I got carried away by what I was saying. I wasn't listening to myself again and again and again. It just keeps going. But you cannot make other people listen to themselves. Isn't that weird? And you cannot stop other people their disembodied language. That is also one of those things. Well, okay, what was I going to say? I was going to say that the other day I was all of a sudden able to pinpoint you could say the crux of this problem. And the crux of this problem is that when you are, let's say, somewhat experienced with your embodied language, and let's say you kind of know that, okay, I listen to myself, and you begin to kind of recognize like, oh my God, so everybody, whenever they have disembodied language, they are not listening to themselves. No, they are not. And then if you try to talk with them, then also you end up not listening with yourself. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And then you seem to experience all kind of conflicts about that. Yeah, you kind of feel frustrated that you want to have embodied language, but other people don't. And nobody seems to want to have embodied language. And yeah, if you talk with me, you get clear about that because you get to talk with a person who knows in and out about what embodied language is and what disembodied language is. So I know, like nobody else does, how that is. But there are things that you haven't addressed yet fully to yourself. Yeah, I keep repeating to you that how important it is to acknowledge for yourself that there is no such thing as inner language. Yeah, there never were any sentences anywhere inside of you. There are no words inside of you. There is no conversation going on inside of you. All of that is made up stuff by your disembodied language. So unless you say to yourself that this is true, yeah, and unless you let yourself know again and again, like, no, I am just fantasizing that there are thoughts going on, because it cannot be that there are thoughts going on, because there is no inner language. Okay. Now you've said this to yourself. Let's say you're really advanced. You've really moved on from your belief in inner language, and you finally acknowledge, like, yeah, it is true. There is no inner language. Every time I talk out loud with myself, about my so-called thoughts, these thoughts, they disappear. And I feel totally spacious. I feel totally empty. There is no inner language. Of course there isn't. There's only what you say, what you hear, what you can write and what you can read. There's only overt language. Overt, that means observable, visible, audible. Yeah? Okay. Now, there is no inner language. And there is no inner language because you have said it to yourself that there is no inner language. Yeah, that is an important point to get. There is only going to be the realization that there is no inner language after you have said numerous times to yourself that there is no inner language. It is really true. And after you have put in place the disembodied language, which keeps telling you that there is inner language. No, there isn't. Now, now imagine yourself. Not imagine. It's just, it's just a sort of a exercise, basically, what I'm trying to put you through here. Hi, sir. Hey. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, if you are going to do this, you are going to be able to verify every word that I'm saying. Yeah, and that's what I intend you to do. I want you to verify every word that I'm saying. So now, let's assume you've done all that, and you have come to this conclusion for yourself. Wow. So everybody with disembodied language believes that there's inner language. And that's why we never get to embodied language, because supposedly that inner talk is more important than our beliefs, our convictions, our morals, whatever it is that we hang on to as our identity. Our identity is more important than the conversation. No, it's not. Our identity evaporates in the conversation. Our identity doesn't exist in the conversation. That's what real conversation is. Now imagine yourself, or not imagine, sorry, it's the wrong word, but just assume that you've done all this. And yes, you've been frustrated with other people that they are not having embodied language with you. And they are having disembodied language, and you are still around them because the world is still around, and you still have to go to work, or you still have, let's say, you have friends, you have family, you still got to get along with everybody, or you still got to live your life. And you're not living in a cave anywhere. You don't retreat into some commune or into some monastery where you live in your own little self-created environment. No, this is something else. You have, with your language, become realistic about how language and behavior are related. Yeah, you have become capable of expressing your own behavior accurately with your language. And due to that, due to the match, the congruence between your behavior and your language, you can let go of your language. There's no need to hang on to the language. There's no need to, nothing is asking your attention, so to speak, because you have described it, you have understood it. What you have said about your behavior is true. So you're at peace with yourself, yeah? Now, you are listening to, or you are with people who are having disembodied language, and yet you know about, everybody has disembodied language, and you know about embodied language. And guess what? Everybody who has disembodied language, you can't talk with them unless you want to get involved in disembodied language. You cannot talk with them. Yeah, you try and you get again dragged into disembodied language. So you can't talk with them, and you can run away from it, but running away from it doesn't help too. Yeah, you can stay away from it, but the moment you meet them again, you have disembodied language again. You get dragged in. So how do you deal with that? Well, you deal with that by saying that there is no inner language. There's nothing that you need to do. and yes, if it helps to say that you hate these people, if it helps that you say like, I don't want that. If it helps to say like, they can all just go to hell with it, well, that's perfectly fine. But you don't even need to say that, of course. I mean, but you can if you want. I mean, you're just saying it to yourself, right? I mean, that's your embodied language, to say that you just feel disgusted with their, I don't know, forceful speech, their domineering speech, their intrusive speech, their overwhelming speech. You are sick and tired of it. You know that that's not what embodied language is. But this is it. Since you are not in any way getting involved in them, since you totally understand, you trust your own understanding, you've said it repeatedly to yourself, there's nothing that happens to you. And so the people that have disembodied language, they just cannot touch you. They cannot get to you. They do not get to you. And to your own surprise, because that is also in the beginning, you're still surprised that nothing happens. You're not getting upset. You're not getting stressed. You're not getting worried. You don't have the feeling anymore that you want to try to change them. You are just perfectly at ease with yourself, and most importantly, you know more and more sure, more and more you're more and more convinced there really is no inner language. Yeah, I know. This is where the rubber hits the road. The rubber hits the road with you understanding and acknowledging that there is no inner language in your interactions with others. So every objection you feel about other people, every kind of reaction you have had, God, these motherfuckers, or the I've had many of those, yeah. These assholes and these creeps and these bastards, and any kind of reaction you have, it is just all imaginary. You just keep imagining that you are having that inner reaction and yet you don't. That you just tell yourself that you're having that inner reaction. And now you are stopping yourself from telling yourself that you have that reaction. And just because you have told yourself that you have stopped, you have stopped. And that is because you have instructed yourself. You have reconditioned yourself. Yeah? You have reconditioned yourself. You were conditioned with disembodied language. And you have reconditioned yourself with your ongoing embodied language. Yeah. And now things are as they really are when we have embodied language. Now, that's it. So, I still talked for 51 minutes. That's still quite a long time. It feels so good to say this.